There are TikTokers, it's a thing, TikTokers that are calling for a large-scale general strike on the economy. First of all, I got very excited. I got very excited because first I thought they were saying TikTokers were going on strike. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let the TikTokers go on strike. That way we don't have to talk about them. But no, they're calling for a strike on the economy because bills are bad and jobs are stupid and I should be allowed to just sit around in my underwear all day doing whatever I want because I was raised to be an infantile child by society. Nobody wants to accept that life sucks sometimes.
Bills are bad.
Yes, bills are bad. So in that case, don't pay them and don't pay your rent.
I've done that before and it doesn't turn out well.
They're like, guys,
Shocking.
the economy is bad. Here's how we're going to
PSA.
fix it. We're not going to buy things anymore.
That's gonna go great.
Yeah.
So let's watch a couple of these videos in which they talk about all this stuff. It is really, really funny listening to room temperature
Also,
IQ.
I think this
talk
was
about
started by a woman who literally calls herself Queen Petty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, clearly.
let's
Yeah,
listen to room temperature IQ Queen Petty talk about this. Here we go. Oh, the music's going to be copyrighted. We'll go to the second one down because that one's
Okay.
that one. This is the one that we were talking about earlier. This lady down here.
It is because some people seem to be getting confused.
Why would they be confused?
September 1st is still the date, okay? We're still going to keep doing what we've been saying that we were going to do on September 1st.
So people seem to be thinking that I'm extremely negative about this general strike that's supposedly going on. But let me detail what they will be doing between now and September 1st. Just so you all can see the impressiveness of the organizing prowess that is taking place for this strike for September 1st. Let's go. First, you need to develop a small research team. You need to identify resources, community leaders, mutual aid at the hyperlocal, local, regional, statewide, and national level. You want to know what already exists so that you don't have to create an entirely new network to support this strike, right? You then need that communication team to create questions and research surveys. Because the next step is going to be to get people on the ground to talk with those community leaders and existing resources to see what they have, what they need, and what they hope for the future. And you're also going to want to give them the resources and communication tools to speak to their own stakeholders, the people on the ground, their clients, the people that they're helping out on a daily basis, to understand what their needs are. So those tools need to be created even before you get on the ground to meet with people individually, to ask them exactly how they're going to participate in the strike and make that ask of those people. You then need to survey the places that don't have those existing resources.
She just turned on ChatGPT.
And see what is needed.
This is literally this is why we created so many middle management jobs for this exact thought process. This is why what she's actually explaining to you is why corporations don't share their profits, because there are just 9,000 steps to
I want to hear
everything.
the rest. I want to hear it.
Needed there, and getting to know the community enough to see what the supports are and who can lead that effort, because you can't be the face of that effort. They need somebody that understands the people, the culture, the dynamics of that area. So you not only need to identify leadership, you need to give leadership training if that's what's needed in that moment. So then once you've identified hyperlocal, local, regional, statewide, and then national movement leaders, then you need to coordinate them. And throughout that entire process, you need to be creating, cultivating, and practicing a decentralized communication system that does not rely on the internet or mobile phones.
Well, this is the funniest part. So she had somebody comment on this video. One question: what is a decentralized communication system? And she did a stitch with that comment, and she was like, "That is a really good question, and that is the exact question that needs to be asked right now." Because I have no fucking clue.
A decentralized communication system is like...
She was like, I have no idea. And
it's
you
like
have no idea.
It's CB radio. And
CB no one radio. Has any idea what that means.
Ridiculous.
My favorite, what they're actually explaining to you is why running a company is so hard.
They're also explaining why they're going to turn this strike into a job that they're not getting paid for and get donations
get a job.
For. Just go get a damn job,
literally,
girl.
She sounds like somebody who is ranting in a schizophrenic, manic episode on a street corner.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a $20 one there from Aratess.
Okay, this says, what she just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in her rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
It also seems very similar to remember during COVID and everyone was like, oh, I'm going to get locked down. stay in my apartment. And then everybody else went around and was industrious in order to keep society running. That's exactly what she's saying. Everyone else has to be industrious so that she can sit on her butt.
She's actually doing a good criticism of the whole idea of a general strike here. Because she's making fun of how fucking stupid you are that you thought that was able to be accomplished in the first place.
It's just, oh, by the way, he also meant to say, I award you no points and may God have mercy on your soul.
So the woman who started this said, don't nobody show up to damn work. They can't fire everybody.
Yes, they can.
Stop paying your damn bills.
But the other issue, too, is like already everybody isn't showing up to work. Do you ever like try and go somewhere and there's no people at the place where
we were already general striking?
We already are in trouble. Like I'll go to, where was I? I was in some mall in New Hampshire the other day in a Macy's. And I was like literally looking around for somebody to help me with something, and there were no people. I eventually found a security guard, and he was like, oh, I'll try and help you find somebody. And we wandered around for like 10 minutes, and he was like, I can't help you find anybody anymore. I was alone in the department store.
Is society a simulation?
Society is in like a collapse. I feel like we are collapsing, but our society and our culture was built so well by the people who came before us. It was so well structured.
All the competent white men.
It's taking a really long time for it to fully collapse.
That legacy of the competent white men is still alive.
It's still happening.
For now.
Yes.
Let's listen to the lady who has at least a fair critique of why this won't work. This lady supports the idea, but at least just says it's not going to work.
In practice.
Here we go. Hold on.
Saying this because I'm in opposition of the movement, but please don't do that strike on September 1st. Please. If you haven't heard, there's a nationwide strike plan for September 1st where people stop everything. They stop going to work, they stop paying bills, they don't pay rent, etc. And in theory, I get it. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. I personally work 4 jobs and have been struggling all summer just to make ends meet. It's awful. But in execution, the strike is poorly planned, poorly organized, and poorly shared. The whole purpose of a strike is that we strike until we get what we want. Right now, exactly what we want is a little unclear. We just want relief, and that's really vague. But if that's the plan, we then have to be prepared to strike for the foreseeable future, because the whole purpose of a strike is to strike, stop the production until you get what you want. And since we're here because they have the money and the power and we don't, that could take a really, really long time, a time that people are not prepared for. And we have no community safeguards to prepare for what the fallout of this strike could look like. Where do people go once they get evicted? What do people do once they lose their job? How do we afford food? How do we afford comfort? How do we afford safety? Who stops?
How do you afford safety?
How do you afford safety? Maybe you can be like the BLM people and hire your husband to do security for
That's perfect.
a whole bunch of money. That's what you do.
These resources that we need, because they certainly won't let us get it. Because again, they have the money and the power and we don't. Meaning that realistic.
They're like stopping you. Like you save the money and they just show up at your place and take the money back from you, even if you save all your money to get all of these vaguely defined things that you need. That's the problem with all this. It's all just vaguely defined. There's no actual way to implement anything they're talking about.
And best case scenario, people will do this for a few days. Then they'll end up paying a late fee for rent, might have a strike or two for work. It becomes a whole issue. They become disillusioned with the idea of striking, and it impacts strikes negatively in the future. Worst case scenario, people lose their jobs, their homes, their livelihoods for nothing. And I get it. We are tired. But a strike haphazardly thrown together and then passed around on TikTok is not going to get us what we want. It's just going to get us hurt. I'm not.
They're saying that they might not actually strike on September 1st because research shows that a strike with 3.5% of the population striking has never failed before. So they're going to wait until 11 million people in the U.S. have signed on to strike. Then they'll strike.
I don't buy it.
But who are they striking?
You're not going to get 11 million people to agree to not go to work, not pay their bills. I mean, they're just
not send their kids to
They
schools.
think everyone is like an autonomous individual with no one relying on them. Like there are too many parents and caregivers and employers out there to make this happen because they're not selfish.
Right. Also, who are they striking against?
The man.
The
man.
Capitalism.
They're striking against capitalism?
Yes.
When she's like, people are going to lose their houses, I'm like, no. capitalism's like, she's like, people are going to lose their jobs. I'm like, capitalism strikes again, right?
Yes.
Like you have to be able to you have to be ready and willing to, you know, trade your labor for money. And if you're not, somebody else will.
I mean, there are also like too many self-starting business owners in this country that would never happen either.
That's a big part.
People who rely on themselves are not going to strike.
A big
who would
part
they be
of
striking
this-
against?
Right.
Their own customers?
There's a large gap between the mindsets of people like this and people who do believe that, who want to, like, I have lots of friends who love to make money, who work multiple jobs, not because they need to, but because they want to be able to have more than they need. And that's not a mindset that's easily changed for someone, especially when they get older.
Right.
Like, that's instilled in you from a younger age, and you're usually going into that by the time you get to college. You know whether you're going to be a self-starting go-getter who wants to work multiple jobs so that they can save and own multiple homes if they can, right? But you don't learn that in your 30s.
No. Also, it takes a long time to build a career and be able to like have a decent income.
And these people are like, I don't want to quit my job that I've had for 15 years because you want to strike for a day. Like, to stick it to the to stick it to the man vaguely.
Also, striking for a day, like, what, everyone's going to call out
This
sick?
is like a don'tcallthecops.org or whatever, the website people spread around. Like, here are all of the local resources you can call if you think you need to call the cops, but you actually don't. Like, you're going to call a social worker to stop.
Well, that's what Seattle just did. Seattle just
robbery.
hired a bunch of social workers to respond to 911 calls, even though, like, first responders to 911 calls who aren't cops often get stabbed.
I was say, are they going to be wearing flak jackets? They'll probably be wearing flak jackets.
Don't want to, or maybe they just won't show up. You know,
not worth a social worker's salary to be doing
right?
that
That's a low salary,
I'm
right?
picturing that because my mom was a social worker. I'm picturing my mom, my little.
I mean, it's ridiculous enough that we
mom.
have petite female cops. It's ridiculous
That's
enough
weird
on its
too.
face.
I find that also to be very strange.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do?
I mean, they are, I think that studies have found they're more likely to use lethal force because they're less able to defend
They
themselves
have no
without
other
it.
kind of force.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My mom just shows up with a clipboard. I just, what's your problem? And they're like, it's not going to work. Exactly. It's not going to work. It's just not good. I think that the number one thing when I watch this, when I watch a lot of stuff, when we talk about the writer's strike, at the very least has like pretty defined ideas about what they want, but it's still vaguely, the terms are still vague, right? We don't want AI. Well, what does that mean? The studio's not going to agree outright to just not use it. They want increased residuals. What does that mean? Do you even know how much these shows are making?
Right. Well, they don't know because a lot of the streaming services won't tell you. But with the AI, what they specifically want too, that's part of the writer's strike platform, is they want writers to be able to use AI so that residuals don't have to be paid to the software companies that make the AI.
Yeah. Yep. And all of it ends up falling back because nobody's watching this stuff anyways.
No, it's all garbage.
Yep.
Most of amazing.
Most of it is very, very pointless. So guys, if you want to strike on September 1st, we're still going to be here. You should tune in for the show.
Yeah. And our viewership is going to increase because people aren't going to work.
Yeah. My hope is that on September 1st, our viewership goes through the roof because you guys all decided to take a day off.
Somebody in the chat said my dollar ain't shit. And ironically, one of the TikToks announcing the general strike used Oliver Anthony's song as the sound on the TikTok. And I was like, oh no, he like unintentionally inspired a bunch of these people to strike against the man or capitalism or whatever the hell it is they want to call it. I'm sure he wouldn't personally endorse or condone that behavior.
Mr. Anthony, what is your take on unions? Somebody should ask him. How do you feel about unions?
Yeah, we're just going to ask him about his party platform now.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.